And welcome to another episode of JP and the Beanstalk. As always, Beans,
JP, right here. Once again, there is a good energy in the gym.
There's always good energy in this
is.
gym.
I think I'm just going to stick with that, and hopefully Ben Stiller doesn't need to collect royalties anytime soon. Because
I didn't even know you quoted anything.
Straight out of Dodgeball.
I love it.
His White Goodman character.
I do love it.
Oh my gosh, it's great. It's great. So all good works are plagiarized from something. So
for sure.
So there it is. There it is. How you doing, Beans?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, sir. How are you?
You know I'm doing well. I'm excited to chat. Suicide Squad. It's been a long time coming.
I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, all the way back in episode 3 for us when the original Suicide Squad trailer dropped. As a matter of fact, it may have been the red band version, come to think of it. We did a very thorough preview in terms of running through the characters and going, hey, who do we think is going to die? Who do we think is going to live? And so now the payoff is here.
We finally got the movie.
4 months later,
Yep.
we get to recap. So that's exciting. You went big leagues and got us a second microphone. So
heck yeah. So hopefully the voice output is just blessing your ears with our voices.
Absolutely. So you're stepping up our tech game.
Heck yeah.
It's great. So we're gonna hit up Suicide Squad. We're gonna talk some great comics. You've been getting through the classic Spider-Man.
Absolutely. It's done.
I've been going through far less old, but still I would qualify as classic Batman stuff from Scotty Snyder.
There you go.
My boy. So we got a lot of great content.
Absolutely.
To cover today. Good for us coming at it 2 weeks in a row, double miking it. Incredible.
This is for you guys because we dinked it, and by we I mean me. I dinked it, but it's okay.
Don't you stay centered on that dinking. You just I don't even know where to finish that sentence. So we're just gonna let it blaze by.
Go right through
it. So let's dive in, man.
Should we just go? Do we want to go reviews first,
100%,
and then kill?
Yeah.
And then our kill count?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to the kill count, but I'm just fascinated because you and I, this is great. We haven't more than just texted a wee bit about general thoughts. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing where you're at with Suicide Squad.
And the fact that we get to break down a DC movie for once is fun. So
feels kind of rare.
Yeah. You want me to go first, or you want to take the lead?
No, I'd love to hear you first. So let's go. How to do as far as meeting your expectations?
It was good. Overall. For a DC movie, it was good. The intro to it was it set the bar for sure. And then the only, I told you this too, I was the only thing that disappointed me is the deaths were very front-loaded and back-loaded in the movie.
Sure.
So throughout the entire middle part, they're doing all this character development, which is great.
Yep.
But you have so many funny and good actors you can use, and it would have been way more funny to watch them just get blown off at random points throughout the movie, which is kind of what I was expecting.
Yep.
And the other fact is they don't use Boomerang very much at all. James Gunn was the only people I'm keeping from the original roster from the first one is Harley Quinn and Rick Flag.
Yeah.
And I thought for sure Boomerang would be more of a part.
And I respected that. Again, we'll get into the kill count, but when I was going back and revisiting our original predictions and you said, hey, I think Boomerang's going to live, I thought, that makes sense.
He's one of the main
Courtney
from
was
the
well cast for that role. He is relative to comics a mainstream DC villain, particularly for Flash,
and mainstream for Suicide Squad. He's a staple in the Suicide Squad. Him,
no
Deadshot, Harley Quinn. So it's 3 usually.
Right.
And then King Shark was fantastic. I think the dynamic between Peacemaker and Bloodsport was perfect. They had that.
Agreed.
And actually Peacemaker's whole setup to being I'm actually I have my own secret mission among all of this other stuff was actually a really good reveal.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, they set it up really nicely for it, because when they're going through and she's we're going to give you all these people with different abilities and stuff. And the first one she introduces has the same ability set as him. I was that is kind of weird. Why are they doing that?
Peacemaker and Bloodsport, all their skills match up and it plays, like you said, as a joke. But once that reveal for Peacemaker was made, totally agree. You had to look back on that scene and really respect just the cleverness.
Oh, for sure.
Right, to kind of just sneak that right by us, and yet at the same time, it was right there. It was right in front of us. So it wasn't snuck past us, but it's just too obvious.
Absolutely. And Starro was a great choice for a villain. Great choice for a villain. Like, it's Starro, man. It's cool.
Yeah.
And then
that's good. What else did you like?
Oh man, what else did I like? Actually, Bloodsport's whole character was cool to me. The weapons, like, he just keeps adding stuff at like a Nerf gun. He basically had like a Nerf gun with all these different attachments, and I don't understand it at all.
Where's
but you're
this
like
coming from?
You're like, no wonder Superman got shot by this guy. He didn't even know how much he was going to add onto the gun before it was over.
A walking weapon. I mean, you know the Assassin's Creed video games, right?
I
remember when those first came out, it was pretty cool that, this dude's got like knives hidden inside his sleeves. And Bloodsport's just strutting around with darts in his sleeves, figuratively, just going...
Oh, yeah, and it's like a bow and arrow, pretty much. And I was like...
Right? It's like a crossbow bolt.
I was like, when did he start doing that?
Yeah. And I don't know the character from the comics.
I don't either. It's legit.
I don't think anybody does.
He's known...
I don't think anybody knows other than the reference of, he shot Superman with a kryptonite bullet.
That's legit. His only claim to
80s.
fame.
Right.
That's his only claim to fame.
Unreal.
And I honestly would love to see Bloodsport and Deadshot together on the same Suicide Squad. I think that would be amazing.
No doubt.
And especially, I mean, they both have the daughter thing, although Bloodsport really doesn't give a crap about his, really, for the most part.
Yes, he did not come across as a fantastic father.
I mean, he did it for the right reasons. He was like, all right, we'll do this, but you got to leave her alone. Mm-hmm. And the most satisfying part of the movie is watching Amanda Waller get hit in the face with a club. Oh, I hate Amanda Waller in the comics. I hated her in Justice League cartoons. I don't like her in the movies, so that's how you know she's well casted.
True.
Very true to the character.
Yep.
You're not supposed to like her at all.
Right.
So that was just so satisfying.
And unexpected.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think I saw that coming.
And and the way that's set up for that, and then, I mean, again, King Shark was amazing.
Voiced by Sylvester Stallone, by the way.
Yeah, for no reason. They didn't have to give Sylvester Stallone. Actually, James Gunn said he wrote that for him.
Oh my gosh.
Which I love. But
oh my gosh. Oh wow, that's good. Anything stick out to you just from a? Actually, you know what? Save that. I want to hear what you didn't like, but I'm going to dive in first.
Yeah, go for it.
Piggybacking off what you said, I like what you said about is good observation on your part with front-loaded and back-loaded deaths, as far as that being a unexpected way to approach it. Like, we know there's going to be a ton of characters that die. That's not
and
a
rightfully
surprise.
so.
And rightfully so. It is the quirky appeal of this group is that, unlike most superhero movies where you watch them, and the expectation, which is realistic, is that this hero is going to live. So just by that reality, there's a lot of the tension that's kind of diffused, right? Because you know, or you at least are fairly confident that this hero is not going to die. Like, they're going to live. We're going to see them in more movies, especially now.
Yeah, for sure.
Now we're in the era of franchises, not just trilogies or sequels. And so when you have a cast or you have a collection of characters that are legitimately expendable, and that's part of the appeal, right? There's just some more tension that comes into that story because any one of them could be killed very abruptly at any given moment. And so I think that's part of what's effective about the movie. But to bring it back to what you said, I think perfect movie, perfect world, they would have done what they did, but also left enough of them alive to continue to pick them off as the movie went on. Like, just this continuous, like, every 5 or 10 minutes, boom, one of them dies.
You know how funny that would have been?
Right. Like, I thought it was genuinely funny when almost all of that first team dies right off the bat. Like, when Weasel jumps in the water and he is just clearly floundering and not able, like, he's got no chance to make
yeah.
it. And they go, did anyone check to see if the weasel can swim? And everybody back at the home base is just kind of giving each other awkward looks like, I thought that was your job. Was that me? I don't know. Was that you? Incredible. What a great tone setter right off the bat. So I loved that. I loved how a bunch of them died at first. But I agree with you. I think it would have been that much better had there been characters that just got popped off throughout the movie instead of, okay, you pop off a bunch of them, then everybody lives until the end and you start, boom, boom, few more are going to get knocked off.
I mean, they could have made it so more than Harley Quinn got captured.
Right, more than Harley Quinn, Rick Flag survived.
And Rick Flag didn't even get captured.
Who out of, let's pause here before we get too far down this. I want to know who you wish we would have seen more of. Like, out of that initial grouping that just gets slaughtered, I'm guessing Captain Boomerang would be one that we would have liked to have seen more of. Captain
Boomerang was definitely one. Yep. He had actually a great entrance.
Yeah.
Like, he was
fantastic.
He sliced some... Oh, we're good.
Yeah.
He sliced some dudes up.
Here, I'll get that reset. You keep talking.
I'm trying to think of the entire, like, cast.
Yep.
Like, they built Savant up for being, like, this really cool dude, and then he, like, turned into a baby and it hit the circle button, the arrows, one more time. No. One button above. Yep, that one right there. Yep, and then, let's see here. I'm just trying to remember, because they were
Savant was part of the group. Javelin was part of the group.
Yep, didn't care about that one.
Captain Blackguard.
Blackguard didn't care. Mongale didn't care.
TDK.
Can we just, before we get too far into that, can we just talk about how amazing, like, TDK, you're up. He detaches both arms. And he's super excited about it, by the way.
Oh, my gosh. He's so confident. He's so pleased.
And his whole power is slapping the crap out of people. And he just spends the time. And then they start shooting his arms up. And he's sitting there, like, in pain.
Right.
Just dying. That was the other thing.
I would have. So I like the Captain Boomerang pick. I would have enjoyed. I think Javelin would have been a lot of fun to spend more time with. Mostly because that actor, Flula is just a hoot. And he's giving TDK a hard time. Like, so your name is just letters?
Very true.
It was great. I could have enjoyed a great deal more than what we got out of him. But anyhow, I still enjoyed overall. I enjoyed oh my gosh, they're just getting smoked from the get go. And part of what I also enjoyed was the non-linear storytelling. Like, they would show us a piece of the movie, right, a good 10, 15 minutes, and then, we're going to flash back. And
the flashbacks worked.
They did. They did it twice, right? Like, first, of course, at the beginning, after the opening sequence where folks are just getting smoked. And then the second time was maybe 3/4 of the way through the movie. I don't think there was a third time that I'm not thinking of. But in both cases, I thought it was really, really effectively deployed. Stylistically, like, the movie looks very cool. Yeah. And here's a big thing that I have to give it props for, because I was very disappointed about this with the first Suicide Squad movie. The action is great. Like, the action scenes are awesome. They're creative. They are. We just spent just a brief moment touching on how gnarly Bloodsport's arsenal is.
For sure.
Incredible. And the first Suicide Squad movie, here's my deal with action movies in general, okay? Mm-hmm. Superhero movies included, of course. This is what you are. You are an action visual movie first and foremost. Yes, there needs to be good character development, but if you don't have that, you can get some value out of, hey, our action scenes were cool.
Oh, yeah.
And when the first Suicide Squad movie didn't do that, and then it also didn't do other things like have a story worth telling and develop characters worth of crap, then you've got yourself a pooper of a movie. But that's where, at least personally, I can forgive an action movie where it's like, that didn't really make a lot of sense, but it looked really cool.
Yeah.
Transformers movies, anybody? We're not going to go down that that path completely.
I'm a sucker for the
Those are
Transformers
cool-looking movies. Yeah. Like, are they stupid? Yes. Are they really cool-looking?
They're robots from outer space that turn into cars. That's not going to be all good.
No, absolutely not. So,
and the new one's going to have animal ones. I'm so excited.
I still remember when the dinosaur.
Dude, the T-Rex was sick. I don't even care.
Cool.
I don't even care.
It was so cool. The pterodactyl.
Oh my God. Optimus Prime riding in on the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Let's go.
That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
For sure.
So, great job at executing and crafting some phenomenal action scenes. The scene where Bloodsport and Peacemaker are rolling through the camp. And just trying to one-up each other at Smoking Fools. Oh my gosh.
And then they find out, it's a rebel camp. They're the good guys.
Like, these are actually people on your side. Awkward. Great scene. The character development. If you wanted to nitpick, like if you want to be negative about this movie, you could say, hey, this is an R-rated Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And you wouldn't be wrong, but also like what's the point of nitpicking it in that way? Because you have an artist in James Gunn. Like, this is his style, right? King Shark is Groot.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, fair enough. Harley Quinn is Gamora, or maybe Rocket Raccoon. This is a different discussion. We should go down that road.
Well, King Shark is
definitely Groot.
Is the size of Groot, but with the mind of Baby Groot.
There you are. Yes.
So they smashed both Groots
Vin
into
Diesel
one.
voices Drax, Sylvester Stallone voices King Shark. It's like, this is not hard to see how this happened.
And then, Bloodsport is your
Peter Quill.
Yep. You could probably argue Peacemaker is probably Rocket Raccoon.
Drax.
Because
I'd say Drax.
Because Rocket does go after the leadership
Harley
role
is
as
Rocket.
well. Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to go with it. Rocket's a little nuts. Harley's very nuts.
That's true. Okay, I'll give it to you.
I feel better about that. I didn't think I would at the beginning of this conversation, but
I guess Peacemaker is pretty literal, so that would work.
Right. Yep. I see him more relatable to Drax
than
Rocket.
So does that leave Polka Dot Man doesn't really fit with anybody. I'd say he's his own horse.
I don't know where Gamora fits in as far as who or what DC characters related to her.
Ratcatcher, I guess.
Right. But
by default?
Yeah, that's more of by default than a direct correlation. But anyway, like, I don't mind because, again, you get you go see a Christopher Nolan movie, you know what you're going to get. As soon as that movie begins, as soon as the first shot is on the screen, it just looks like a Chris Nolan movie.
Absolutely.
It just does. And I think it's similar. That's just true of any artistic endeavor, whether it's music, film, literature. And so it's not an issue. It wasn't a hang-up for me. I noticed it. Mm-hmm. I thought this is really similar to what I've seen. It's just a R-rated version of it.
And they're not afraid to kill each other. Wow. And Guardians, they're not going to kill each other. They end up working together.
They tussle
and
a little bit,
yeah.
but it's not
they're going to fight.
We're genuinely going to actually end each other's lives. The biggest hang-up that I had, Riley, was, and this wasn't something I expected, I knew the movie was going to be violent. I did not expect it to be that gory. Like, it's been since probably I saw Django Unchained that I've seen a movie that was just that gross with its violence.
See, and I don't mind that.
Yeah.
But that's because, and Deadpool is one of my favorite movies, and that's pretty gory, so.
And I can like deal with it like in little bits here and there, but man, it seemed like every death was just like, just so
that's
gross.
what makes it fun for me.
Yeah, and that's harder for me. Like, that was hard for me to enjoy that part of it.
I was like, oh, there's his arm, yes!
Right. Like, I honestly averted my eyes when Starro like had the Thinker by all four limbs. Like, I know how this is going to end, and I don't.
I watched that completely.
I bet you did. I didn't want any part of it at that point. I'm like,
although it didn't. It wasn't like an even split. Like I thought. I thought it would split right in half. Like King Shark split that one dude in half.
Gosh, that was so gross.
But no, it was like arm, leg gross. Here, rest of the body that way. I'm like, rip him more.
That was the one thing. This is for me, right? Like, I understand that there's plenty of folks that's not a hang up for. It just went too far from my preference, to the point like I'd like to go back and rewatch the movie for a lot of the positives But then I'm like, oh my gosh, like I might have to give it some time before
Honest-
I come back. It was just a little too gross for me. But
Honestly, I'm kind of disappointed the way Thinker died. I'm like, Starro, this dude's been torturing you for 30 years, and the only thing you do is rip off an arm and a leg and kill him instantly like that? Come on, make him suffer. Throw him around a little
he
bit.
didn't mess around, did he?
Chew
Gone.
on him. Chew on him or something, you know? Spit him out. But
Yeah.
also,
Yeah, pretty quick.
I will say my beef with it
Let's
is
hear it.
probably how Starro died. They went the whole Squirrel Girl route,
Yep.
and I was kind of like,
Yep.
he can be taken out by rats?
Wait, tell me more Squirrel Girl route. That's a Marvel character, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
she just controls squirrels. Like, she's beat Doctor Doom and Thanos. Like, she has this crazy, like, insane beat list that she just took out, and that's what I mean. They're like,
Fair enough. Good comparison.
like, I'm like, okay, rats are, like, when they were using it to cut the cameras, great.
Mm-hmm.
An alien starfish that can control minds, and it's just gonna get, like...
Oh, you knew Harley was gonna just smoke him right in the eye with the
Oh,
javelin.
no,
Like,
that one,
was...
I don't have a
That was
problem
great.
with that part. I
Yeah.
don't have a problem with that part.
Yeah.
I have, the problem comes in where it's like, oh, well, the rats are going to finish off. And secondly, can we talk about how nasty that city is? Did you see how many rats were just around? That's
Well,
so gross.
Quarter Maltese, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a fictional
I have
island
no idea.
that, if I recall correctly, isn't that associated with Bane in the DC comics?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I always associated him
Okay.
with Mexico,
Right.
which isn't really fair.
Okay. I'm gonna have to look.
You
I'm gonna
look-
have to
you look
that
it
up,
up.
'cause I am super fascinated by that possibility.
But that was probably my only beef. Like, because honestly, and they didn't...
So what about it did you not like? Because I didn't mind that. It was unexpected, right? Nobody's expecting
It was
rat. I mean, I thought Ratcatcher 2 was going to die because I wanted her to, because rats, gross. I'm all on board with the Bloodsport. Like, disgusting.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
I don't know. I was like, I want something more epic. Like,
Okay.
getting eaten alive by rats is kind of... It's kind of icky. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, blow him up. Or, you know, stab him some more. Or, like, let King Shark eat one of the limbs, the whole limb or something, you know? I don't know, like... It would have been so sweet just to see him chew through, like, one of the starfish limbs and then use it as a baseball bat and beat the crap out of him. Did you think about that? That would have been sick. I don't know.
That's fair.
I'm a little picky, probably.
That's fair.
Also, they did not use... This is also something that bummed me out. You had Starro, and you didn't let... You didn't think, okay, we should let, like, 2 or 3 people in the squad get starfished and then just destroyed. Like, that's how you could have killed somebody. No one on the squad got mind controlled.
That was a fascinating, and I would agree, unexpected.
I mean, I guess it's better than...
Not event that none of the characters did get mind controlled. I agree. It just seemed like
And even
that was bound to happen.
Bloodsport lost his mask, so I'm like, oh, he's screwed.
Sure.
So I thought for sure, I was like, oh, it's going to be Ratcatcher and King Shark trying to get all
Right.
these starfish off their faces.
Right. Yep. Okay, fair enough.
I'll give you
Fair
the
enough.
gore part on the
Yep.
experimenting.
Oh.
That bothered me.
Yeah, that was.
I was like, okay, that's rough. But it was supposed to be. Like, it's supposed to, like, make you uncomfortable.
They just dwelled on that area too long. Like,
I
I get
will
it if you're
agree.
going to show it, like, in the background. It's like, oh, that's nasty. And then, okay, move
Or
on.
maybe
Like, point
just-
taken. We get it. It's gross. But they kept coming back to it. I was like, oh, come on. Like, I don't need to see
That one was gross.
That
was gross.
That was tough. And frankly, did they ever like give a valid reason as to? And here's why we're experimenting on these people. Like, here is where we hoped to end up. Like, was the United States government saying, "Hey, we're trying to weaponize
and
Starro so that we can know how to control the minds"?
I think that was
of
the
others?
case.
I think so
But it
too.
wasn't,
But
like-
it just wasn't very
It
explicit.
wasn't explained in depth.
Yeah.
Because it was more explained that they were going to use that as a weapon against us.
Yes.
But
yes.
And of course, our government was the bad guy. I was kind of like,
Yeah.
like
That feel a little soft to you, a little too easy.
it almost felt like a middle finger, a little bit.
Fair enough.
A
It
little bit.
villainized. It turned Amanda Waller from like this neutral to a genuine villain.
Yeah.
Like to where she's definitely one of the villains in the movie. Like the main adversary that they're battling, like mano a mano, is Starro, but the villain that they never actually take a swing at is Amanda Waller, because she's not giving them the full details of the mission, and she's just, killing them off willy-nilly, and also just using them to ultimately not to actually help anybody.
Just cover up the U.S. And
yep.
she's supposed to ride the line. Like, I understand, but that's almost too far, and I don't... Like, she's always been about the justice system, just in a different way.
In a more hardcore fashion.
Yes. Not pure, like, okay, we're going to just do all this stuff. You know?
Yep. Yeah.
Like, I'll give her credit there. She's not...
I get that.
She's a bitch, but she's not, like...
An effective one.
To that extent.
Yeah. Quarter Maltese, real quick. Incorrect on my part to guess that it had anything to do with Bane. It's not that. It's actually a location that was created, and I remember this now, for the Dark Knight Returns comic, written by Frank Miller. We'll get into that sometime down the road, but that was a late 1980s comic that is highly regarded as one of the best of all time, and not just for comics in general, but in particular for the character of Batman. It injected some pretty fresh life into him. So that's where that location was introduced. We won't get into all the nitty-gritty because that's a tale for another time. But aside from that particular story, I don't think it's been referenced that frequently. So there you go, Quarter Maltese. Just to clear that one up.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But no, the action scenes were awesome. I loved Harley with the javelin. Oh, that was a lot of fun to watch.
The build-up for that was good.
Woo, that was great. And frankly, kudos to Mr. Gunn for taking characters that you and I don't know a thing about Bloodsport, about Peacemaker, about freaking Ratcatcher 1, much less Ratcatcher 2, The Deuce, Polka Dot Man, and these were worthwhile by the end of the movie. Well-developed characters. How about the Polka Dot Man bit where he just sees his mom all the time? When he's seeing Starro as his mom. I think that was the part that I laughed the hardest.
I was like,
that movie.
That was so weird.
Oh my gosh, so weird.
And I don't know if I feel like they modified his power set a little bit for the movie.
Sure,
but I don't 100% know, because I don't know enough about Polka Dot Man.
No,
I just know he's a Batman villain.
Yeah. So pretty cool. Like, I really admire James Gunn, having obviously seen the Guardians movies and now see him transition over to a different comic universe and do a similar thing with a batch of unknown characters that, here's the deal, even though they're unknown, they've also been around for a while. So it's not like he's just...
picking new ones.
Yeah, he's not picking new ones that are the fresh thing, right, in comics. He's picking characters that have been around for a decade or two that... never caught on the mainstream, like comic readers, right?
Yeah.
Like the niche never caught on with a niche, and he's making them more worthwhile than they frankly should be.
I mean, Bloodsport's mask is so cool.
Wow.
That's such a cool mask.
Wow, right? King Shark is great, and he can barely talk. He obviously can't disguise himself, like the mustache.
I wish he would have looked more badass than dumb, but that's also another personal...
Yep.
Because he was almost dopey.
Sure.
I mean, he was dopey.
Sure.
Like, they could have given him, like, a scar or something.
But even, like, okay, I expected to loathe the character of Ratcatcher, too. She was great. She was really worthwhile in the movie. I know you're not high on the way that she was used to finish off Starro, and that's fair.
I should have seen it coming, to be honest, but...
Yeah.
But it was really good for Bloodsport.
Yep.
It was good for Bloodsport.
Yep.
That was his character development.
Yeah.
That's what she's there for.
Rick Flag was much more worthwhile in this movie than he ever was in the first Suicide Squad movie. R.I.P.
That death was sad.
Freaking little pun there, I guess. Ouch.
And then just the sick burn at the end too. Oh, what a joke.
Yep.
And then dies.
Yeah. Harley Quinn was fantastic again. Like I'm not a Harley diehard by any stretch of the imagination.
Harley is indifferent for me.
But in the movies,
Margot Robbie does a fantastic job, but she loves that character.
Tremendous.
That's why you gotta get actors and actresses who love that character, because then they'll come and play it more, and they'll actually
She's tremendous, and
best
she was
in it.
great. And it would have been, I think, kind of easy for her character to dominate the movie because whenever she's on the screen, she's tremendous. But I thought that from a storytelling perspective, they struck a really good balance of giving us enough, but not too much to where we didn't have time to get engaged with these new characters. So really, really cool.
The way she just shoots that guy.
That was fantastic. Oh. Second biggest laugh in the movie. First was Starro is Polka Dot Man's mom. Second is when she just blows the guy away. And no regrets either. And
no,
then she said, I didn't even know this had a bullet in it.
She goes, you had so many red flags. I was like, jeez.
Incredible. Incredible. So a lot of good, few nitpicky things. Again, like the gore was just a little too much for me, and so I don't know when I'll revisit the movie. But overall, it was strong. Like it was solid. It was really solid.
I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't know what my expectations were going into it because again, I
had very low expectations.
Yeah, I have no like prior emotional attachment to these characters.
Nope.
So I feel like I came in fairly neutral and just enjoyed it for what it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we need to
Are we
run
going to get
down.
into our kill count?
Let's do it. Let's go through
the
freaking kill count, my man. Let's see what let's see what we got. It's going to be fantastic. Okay. So again, this is from back in April.
Okay.
All right. We're just going to go in the same order that we went way back in episode 3. So at about the 16 minutes remaining mark, for those of you that really want to check our work and make sure that we're not cheating, we're not skimping here. We're honest people.
Absolutely.
When we're on the record,
Since
we were already on the record.
We should have bet on it. We should have had like a gentleman's bet or something.
Right. True. Okay. We'll remember that the next time a similar situation
arises. The next
arises.
Suicide Squad movie comes out.
Right. 3 years from now, we'll do this right.
If they do it, I can't see why they wouldn't. But the money did not back up.
Yeah. We'll touch on some. I still want to come back to like some holistic, big picture topics, and that's one of them. But we'll come back.
Okay.
Let's hit the roster. So right off the bat, Harley Quinn. Neither of us predicted her to die. We've said she's alive. We were both correct.
So we got one.
Yep, one apiece.
And one.
One. Rick Flag. I said Rick is going to die. You said he's going to live.
I said he's going to live.
And I wish I was wrong. I didn't want Rick Flag to die. Here's the deal. Let me rephrase that. I didn't give a rip about Rick Flag at the start of this movie because almost everything associated with the first Suicide Squad movie was not viewed in a very positive light by me. So I was going to be really okay if he was dead. But by the time it got to the point where he actually did die, I was like, oh, this sucks. Well, this is bad. I'm not a fan.
And our thought process was it was either going to be Rick Flag that walks out or is it going to be Bloodsport?
Correct. So there you go. Rick Flag, I said he's going to die. You said lives. Turns out he died, guys. Amanda Waller, neither of us had her biting it. We both expected her to live. Not a big surprise there.
Yep.
So
she's not even
club to the dome. She presses on.
Yeah, and she's too scared to get out in the field.
Yep.
On that one.
Yep, she keeps herself safe. Captain Boomerang. I was wrong. No, I'm sorry. I was right on this one. I said Captain Boomerang was going to die. You said Captain Boomerang was going to live. It's just like
he's one of the main guys.
I get it.
That one broke. That one hurt. That one hurt a little bit.
Yep.
Because he had such a good entrance.
Yep.
Cutting people up and then
just gets roasted.
That's right. He gets set on fire. It's like, what happened to him?
Yep.
Oh yeah, that one girl.
You knew Mongal was toast. Like you just did. But anyway, jump the gun a little bit. So, R.I.P. Captain Boomerang. Jai Courtney, you deserve better, buddy. Bloodsport. You thought, Riley, that Bloodsport was going to perish.
Yep.
Bloodsport did not perish. Bloodsport, much to our...
And you said he was going to live, right?
I said he was going to live. Yep.
This isn't looking good for me.
It starts out rough for you. It evens out a little bit here, okay? This is just the way we went through it in episode 3. You're going to feel better here in a little bit. Peacemaker, we both said Peacemaker was going to live. That turned out to be true.
Although barely. Okay. And then
I thought Rick Flag was going to be the one in the hospital bed.
Oh, no, I didn't. I definitely didn't.
I was holding out hope.
The fact that when Peacemaker had her ready to go. I'm like, okay, here comes Bloodsport. I was like, I knew exactly what was going to happen. I didn't know it was going to be decided in one bullet. I thought there'd be more of a fight.
Smaller bullet.
And it was just instant.
Yep. So, again, kudos, good foreshadowing.
How did he even live?
I don't know.
Just
comics, man.
That's what we call.
That's all that was.
That's what we call an ass pull. They pulled that out of their ass.
Yeah. Here's the deal. For this movie, it makes more sense for him to genuinely be dead.
Yeah,
it just does. Like, they decided they're going to make a TV show with him, right? So James Gunn and John Cena are doing a Peacemaker series. So that is the only reason that he's alive. In terms of how this movie went, like the rules of the movie are a lot of people die. There's no reason for a character in this movie to get shot in the throat, left to bleed out, and then survive.
Well,
so let's just be real.
They could have made the show a prequel and show why he's in prison.
Correct. So that was just poppycock. Anywho, freaking Peacemaker. All right.
Definitely poppycock.
100%. The Thinker. You had the Thinker as dying. I had the Thinker as living. I was incorrect. You were correct.
Holy crap, I got one right.
Thinker got shredded by Starro.
God, he was annoying.
He was. He wasn't someone that any of us, I don't think there's a single person that went, oh man, come on, the Thinker's dead? We're all comfortable with that. All right, the Javelin.
We both said dead.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm going to say there's no way one of us thought they were going to live.
No. Javelin, we both agreed. Toast. Ratcatcher 2, you called it. You were on point with this. Ratcatcher 2 survived. I said maybe, but I want Ratcatcher 2 to die. I was wrong. You were right. Savant, dead.
Did we both say dead?
Both of us believed Savant was toast. Here's where it gets really good, Riley. Okay, we got a couple really nice ones coming up. Polka Dot Man. We both agreed Polka Dot Man was going to die.
And it was getting really nerve-wracking.
Right.
Towards the end.
Right. I said I think it's going to be later in the movie, and you said you hoped it would be in a stupid way. And I think both those things are right. Because Polka Dot Man, what are you doing? Like, he's just freaking out. I'm a superhero. Squish. Like, pay attention, bro. Your mom's right there. And he just loses all composure. Didn't go out great. Sorry, Polka Dot Man, but not sorry because Riley and I were both right.
I was so glad.
You're dead. Mongao. We both agreed.
Yeah.
Dead. TDK.
Both said dead.
I think that was the funniest death. I think that was...
Sure.
That was great.
Just, he's so into himself.
Yep.
And then...
Javelin was the most disappointing death because I wanted him to get killed with his own javelin. I think you did too. Right? And he just got shot up. I was bummed.
I don't even think he threw it. Did he even throw the javelin?
Did we see?
Harley used it better than he did. I'm 95% sure.
I don't think he used it at all.
No.
Yeah.
What
what the frick is Savant? Like, we didn't even touch on that. What is Savant's ability? Other than to bounce a racquetball in a square cell?
And hit a bird.
Yeah.
And then the bird came back and ate his brain. Can we talk about that random fact?
That's right. That was...
I don't know what his power set is. He literally dropped in, watched people die, and then got scared and swam away, and then blew up.
Like, Blackguard, who we'll get to next, has guns. Like, we don't know what his abilities are, but he's at least armed. Savant dropped in, I think, weaponless. Like, he has goggles on, no apparent weapons, contributes nothing other than just fleeing and being the one character in the Suicide Squad.
Pansy.
There's always got to be one.
Pansy.
Then Amanda Waller gets to... Goodbye.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know. Whatever. So, Blackguard, we both said dead. We were correct. Here's where it gets a little froggy, okay? Weasel, we both said was going to die, and we both agreed it was going to be early. As a matter of fact, we both said this is going to be the first character to die. And here's the deal. We were right, okay? More bull squirt from this freaking movie. Oh, Peacemaker's going to live. Okay, after getting shot in the throat, fine. Weasel's alive after being dead on the beach forever. Like, does the Weasel have healing powers?
I don't know. He literally just gets up and then he runs away. And I'm like, oh, so you know how many children he's going to eat now?
Gross, right? Like, just gross. I was so happy when he
was
died
so gross
right off the bat. Yeah, it was fantastic. It was Let him stay dead.
Can you imagine? Like, he drowned. Like,
It was awesome.
like, you know, how disappointing that was. It's
Awesome.
like, you drowned?
Just great. Just glorious.
Blow him up or something.
Right. So, last on the list, King Shark. We both agreed King Shark was going to see it to the end of this movie. And he did indeed. Took a lot of hits. Almost got eaten by really tiny fish.
Which,
Piranha
what were those things?
Those were clearly not a real species.
Well, no, I know, but I didn't.
So I have
it
no
was not
idea.
explained if it was an alien.
It just looked like an
or-
alien piranha.
because it wasn't
I don't know.
it was just there. They were just there for like comedic purposes. Like I'm not sure what the point of those were.
Just for weirdness. No real reason. So
Because it was just these cute fluffy things, and they're like, no, we want to eat you.
right. So overall, someone that's missing on our list is Milton, the bus driver. None of us really knew he was a part of the
I could have
crew.
told you he's gonna die.
Right, but we knew he was going to die. That was a great scene where they're like, who is Milton? And the polka dot man is freaking out. He's like, he's been with us this whole time.
And he's the craziest one. That and
oh my gosh. And then Harley at the end of the movie insists that Bloodsport's name is Milton. It's like, we just had a conversation that your name is Milton. So good humor. Well done.
the final score, if I counted right, you're gonna have to double check me.
Sure.
You won by 1 point.
I believe that.
13
It was
to
close.
12.
I know. I told you
13
the
to
top
12.
half sounded grim for you, but I said you just wait. It's going to balance out. So our final groupings, right? I said okay, Bloodsport, Harley, King Shark, Peacemaker, and the Thinker are going to be the surviving members. I was right, except for the Thinker. That was my wrong, at least at surviving. But I also missed that Ratcatcher 2 was going to be alive.
Yep.
You had Harley, King Shark, Rick Flag, Peacemaker, Captain Boomerang, and Ratcatcher 2. So you just had two individuals that didn't make it in Rick Flag and Captain Boomerang. I had one that didn't make it, and I was missing one that did.
I bit the bullet because I knew it was either going to be Bloodsport or Rick Flag to walk out of there.
Yeah. So I'd say overall, like, I'm pretty pleased with that
Yeah.
that performance on our part. Like 4 months out to go, hey, we're just looking literally at the roster, having seen one trailer. That's pretty outstanding work.
I think so.
On our part. So you're welcome. Really, again, to sum up, you're welcome.
It just shows off our cred.
Yeah, incredible stuff. Okay, big picture to kind of back away from getting into the nuances of the movie. Unless, do you have anything else on the film that you wanted to hit? Or
I
you
got
feel like
nothing. I think we've hit every goose.
So we've struck all the geese.
We've hit every geese in the gaggle.
There are no, the gaggle is down. Incredible. The gaggle is down. I ended up, Riley, not going to theaters to see this. I chose to spring the $15 for the HBO Max subscription, primarily for economical reasons. I was like, I want to go see this with my wife, but we don't really want to pay a babysitter. So by the time you factor in movie tickets, babysitter, it's not a super
you didn't want to
cheap-
bring the kids?
Should have. Missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity.
Bad parenting on my part. Almost akin to Bloodsport. That's...
Your oldest son's sitting there like,
oh my gosh. That would have been so bad.
if he's ever just being
So bad.
If he's ever just being a brat, you just play it one clip from that
gosh.
movie.
Right. That would not have been a good fit. That's how you know. If you hear that I've done that, you need to call people and say, intervene. This guy is not okay. So anyway, watch it on HBO Max, more economical reason. Wanted to see it with the wife, and so we were able to watch it from the comfort of our own home. I think it would have been obviously cooler, more bombastic in theaters with as good as the action was. But overall, it was still, I don't think I was cheated out of a good movie by watching it at home. Now, I assume you went to the theaters.
I did go to the
Correct.
theaters.
So here's my question, because we're in this weird, still very much undefined, I'm going to call it season, where depending on the studio, like Warner Bros. Has said, hey, when we release movies, we're releasing them simultaneously for those that are subscribed to HBO Max, which is $15 a month, so you're not paying an additional fee to see the movie, and in theaters. Whereas Disney, they'll release the movie in theaters. You can also watch it on Disney Plus. You're just paying $30.
Yeah, screw that.
Which,
that's insane.
Again, it's
I'm not
the equivalent.
that desperate to watch a movie.
No,
now,
you might as well be going to see it in theaters, unless you're someone that's going, hey, this is.
I have 7 children, and instead of going to the theater and renting
it's for the folks that still want to see it, but that are a little bit more on the cautious side of, hey, I think this is the safe thing to do. Okay, fine, fair enough. But anyhow, I'm just curious what you think with, in particular, the way that Suicide Squad, as far as we know, hasn't performed well financially, in spite of performing very well in terms of its critical acclaim. I think the fan reaction, sometimes there's a disconnect or a gap, right, between, hey, the critics love this movie and the fans are more, it's okay. Or invert that, sometimes the fans are ecstatic and the critics are going, this is nothing
this
spectacular.
wasn't made for us.
Yeah, I think the response was pretty well unified. Fans really liked it to varying degrees, right? 7 out of 10 for you. I'd put it in a similar ballpark. Some people might feel higher about it.
Yeah, it's not something I need to go rewatch anytime soon.
Right, and that's fine. But I just have a hard time believing that the streaming of movies when they're released is going to be a long-term thing, because at the end of the day, it's about making money, and unless you can genuinely attract a lot of people to your streaming platform for the purpose, and you can draw the line from why those people came to watch those movies to, well, they want to see this new release. That's just not what streaming services have been about. They're kind of trying to get that way with Netflix releasing all this original content.
For sure.
With Amazon Prime, HBO Max. I mean, pick your streaming service. Disney Plus, we've been talking thoroughly about the Marvel shows on this podcast. But movies that are also intended to be theatrical releases, this is the one, this is the big one that hasn't yet enjoyed the same success on a streaming platform as just about everything else. Right? Like, I think there are people that get Disney Plus for the Marvel content almost exclusively.
Or for the Star Wars content.
Or
because they have kids and they know, hey, Disney shows are here.
Yep.
I know that they're going to enjoy these movies and shows.
Right. And we've talked on this podcast in length about how the TV show format, like the 6 to 8 episode, 40, 45 minutes an episode, might be the best way to continue to tell these stories. Like Star Wars in particular was a topic that we hit on many episodes ago.
I'd say Game of Thrones actually probably set it up for that.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
To be honest.
And so I'm just curious. I don't think that this is going to work, as far as this is not going to be a sustainable thing. I think in 10 years we're going to look back on this 1 to 2 year period where movies were being released simultaneously in theaters and on streaming services. I think it's going to be an experiment that ends up reinforcing the value of
movie theaters.
Thank
God, by the way. But so I guess,
what do you think? That's just kind of where I'm at with it.
Well, first, Warner Brothers did just announce today that they've made a deal with the movie theaters for next year, that they will wait 45 days before they release their movies on streaming services. I think the wait should be maybe a little longer than 45 days. Maybe like 2 months. Maybe at least, But for me, it's more
45 seems like the bare minimum, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we really just want to get it out here. Yep. But I may have said this before too, but to me, we almost have too many. It's going to come down to the fact where we're going to have too many streaming services, and so many people are going to be having to pick and choose what they want to watch. Well, maybe they're going to miss that release because, okay, I can only be subscribed to Netflix and Hulu this month, and I have this show that I'm watching on Netflix, and I have these shows I'm watching on Hulu, so I'm not going to go pay extra money to watch this on HBO Max right now. I just can't do it. I think Disney's... Also, we're going to have to pay attention to what happens with this Scarlett Johansson Disney feud that's going on right now, too, because she's suing because of the release, and because it took away... She believes contract. And she believes it took away from her profit, which... very well could be.
Sure.
Although they think that, oh, well, we released it on here and it should actually boost your thing, but I don't think that's the case.
I think primarily their contention is it doesn't matter, Scarlett, if you're right or wrong. Like, we're playing the pandemic card. Like,
yeah.
These are unprecedented times. Therefore, we can we can change what the contract said. Anyhow,
I think it'll honestly come down to where, like, you're gonna have maybe 3 main streaming services. I think you're gonna see all these smaller ones start to die off.
Sure.
Like Peacock will probably die off. I mean, if you think about it, HBO Max already teamed up with are they teamed up with Hulu? Can you get like an HBO extension with Hulu?
No, Hulu and Disney.
I know Hulu,
are
Disney.
paired up. I don't think there's a Hulu HBO Max, but I don't know that for certain, Riley.
Because there's Hulu, Disney, ESPN.
Right.
They're all together in cahoots.
Yep.
Eventually something will pair up with Netflix, I'm sure of it. And Netflix already said they're going to open up their thing to video games too now. Where if you have a Netflix account, you can rent video games or play video games to them.
It's kind of weird that it hasn't happened sooner.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I agree.
How's that not been a thing?
So, and I think, yeah, start next year once this pandemic thing finally dies. I honestly think I don't think Disney will be doing the $30. They might still. It's Disney. They might still do the $30 release, but not very many people are going to take you up on that. Yeah. It might lower to like 20.
Right.
I can't see it staying at 30.
Bottom line is the studios have to make money, and I don't think there's going to be what they want.
Yeah.
I don't think a streaming service can match the amount of money that millions of people go into the theater.
Well, exactly.
Do for it. I just don't think so. I mean, think of it, $30, right, for that Disney Plus movie. My family and I, when we were on vacation a few weeks ago, everybody chipped in, $3 or $4 between all of us, and we rented the movie. So it's not one person paying $30.
Yeah.
It's 8 people splitting it $4 a pop.
And when you look at it that way, then yes.
And you think about, okay, but what if 8 people had gone to the movie theater, paid $10 a ticket? There's just such a huge gap, and that's
it too, because
I just don't see how studios can make the same amount of money.
You're not dividing your audience in that sense.
Correct.
Everybody's going out for that one movie specifically.
Yep.
They're not going to have to go through the whole process of, oh my gosh, I have to sign up for a streaming service. I have to do all this crap.
No,
and then I have to pay
hosting watch parties.
Fee. Exactly.
Yes.
So I
agree.
I feel like it'll die.
Yeah, it's a temporary thing. Streaming services, of course, aren't going anywhere.
No.
The fact that they've been successful enough to continue to finance so much original content says a lot about their success. But I don't know, whatever it is that could jeopardize and ultimately turn a movie theater experience from the regular or the norm for for movies that are trying to get a lot of people to see them. It's not this.
No.
I don't know what it's going to be, if it ever is, but movies are not like, people go to see live plays, right?
Yep.
You love going to see live music, and this is the closest thing to feeling like a live performance, right? That you can get outside of obviously actual theater, but then actual theater is limited in terms of you can't blow stuff up.
No, exactly.
Right? You can't create Quarter Maltese and have King Shark duking it out with Starro in the theater.
They're just...
So, I don't think it's going anywhere.
No, and there's just something about watching a movie in the theater that's so much better than watching it at home.
It's so immersive. It's great. You're genuinely out of your home. You're in a new location. It's pitch dark. There's no opportunity to get distracted by anything.
Absolutely.
And in an age where it is so easy to be distracted or allow yourself to get distracted by dozens of things, I think that still holds a lot of value.
And some of the best experiences are going out, watching Endgame with a bunch of people you don't know, and screaming at the top of your lungs because Mjolnir's moving and Cap gets it, and everybody starts freaking out because they're like, yes! Because all the nerds are freaking out. That's finally happening on screen. It's
that shared experience, man. That's what
Absolutely.
makes it special. I mean, I love, we're both sports guys. I love watching Iowa football games.
That's the thing, too.
Going to sports in person.
Oh, so much better.
It is.
I can't watch a baseball game for the life of me on TV. For the life of me. It bores me. But I will go to if honestly, we were in St. Louis, I might have season tickets.
Yep.
I would go to
100%.
a Cardinals game for fun.
I've never been friends with so many people that I have no idea who they are and will never see them again except at Iowa football games.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that shared experience has a lot of value in a movie theater. And you can't replicate that in the same way. It's just not the same doing it in your home. Even if you're watching with people like that's good. There is value in that. But there is something unique that just cannot be duplicated by that movie theater experience. It's fantastic.
I mean, I think the first time I ever had that experience was the first Avengers.
Yep.
And I was super into Marvel at this time.
Yep.
Well, I mean, still am, but like this is when I was the
your
only
peak
one.
enthusiasm for Marvel.
Yeah, kind of. But like most people at my school weren't like, you had some people that were like bandwagons and stuff. Like, and they get the first rotating scene, everybody starts freaking out.
Yep.
And best experience.
Yeah, no doubt. So, yeah, good stuff, man. All right, so that's a lot of good Suicide Squad talk, good holistic view on things. Let's get into some text because we're bumping up against it. We've gone on for a little while now. I'd love to hear.
Do it.
I'd love to hear your piece on Spider-Man. You gave us some really good content on our previous podcast, getting into that classic Stan freaking Lee Spider-Man, Death of Gwen Stacy, and remind me about 12 episodes in the collection. Episodes.
I believe it was,
sorry, I'm on TV talk.
I believe it was 14 issues. And by the way, that was more of a trek than I thought.
Right.
And I think
more of a journey than we had anticipated.
Yeah, and I think it's just because it's not like a full connecting story. It's just one-off issues. So you just kind of read one issue and you're like, well, I'm done with that one. And then,
sure.
The Gwen, it's interesting because the Gwen Stacy death is only 2 issues, which we kind of touched on last time. But they build it up where they're like, who's going to die? It was pretty clear it's going to be her. Like, legit.
Not a lot of history here, guys.
Oh, by the way, Harry Osborn is on LSD throughout these entire 2 issues. So he's in bed with LSD issues.
Not a good look for Harry.
No. And he's like tripping. He's tripping balls this entire time. Oh, and that's what. And then for some reason Norman had amnesia from the last time he had the last time he was the Green Goblin.
Yep.
And his son's LSD pushes him, and he remembers. He's like the only person that knows Peter is Spider-Man. He's the only person. So he starts getting back into his head, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go after Peter." Well, Gwen's waiting for Peter to get home at his apartment because and they're only worried about each other. And Green Goblin just flies and he's like, I'm going to go take out Spider-Man right now. And then he sees her, and you're like, well, there she goes. Like, she's going to go fly away with him. And then, Spider-Man gets there. There's a pumpkin. It says, I have your lady. And then they're fighting on top of a bridge.
There's never a time where that's not creepy, right? To have a message sent to you with a pumpkin.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
And they're on the top of the bridge, and she's out cold the whole time. She's like asleep, whatever. And they're duking it out. And by the way, Spider-Man's like not feeling good. Throughout this entire series, he's not feeling good. Like
just with the common cold kind of thing?
He has an ulcer or jet lag.
So it's not even like the Batman Nightfall sequence where he's been worn down by multiple villains and then he fights Bane.
No, he's
been running on E for a while.
He's just exhausted from life. Like, he's not even exhausted from everything else. He's just exhausted with how his life's going, and he's got to...
Come on, Pete.
He's always dealing with something, whether it's...
Come on, Pete.
Yeah, so... And then he, throws her off.
Right.
And then you have the iconic...
And she's unconscious this whole time.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, she's dead. And then Peter's like, revenge. So the whole next issue is, I'm going to kill you. And then... So they basically go to it's pretty much like the Sam Raimi where they're fighting it out.
I did not know that until
I
I
didn't
looked through
either.
it last week with you. That was crazy.
Yeah, so I mean they're duking it out, and then he dies from his own glider, and then Peter's just kind of looking at him. He's like, I thought this would be more satisfying, but this is actually just empty.
Well, and it is. I feel like that's a good summation of like, hey, I thought this storyline was going to be huge, and it's just two issues. Just
and then,
different, man.
And then the Norman's dead, and
Yep.
then in the following issue, J. Jonah Jameson hires Luke Cage to go capture Spider-Man, but like
Hero for hire.
Harry's pissed. Like I'm assuming that's when Harry starts going down the Green Goblin path.
Sure.
But he is livid, and he does not like because he talks to Peter, Peter talks to him. He's like, "I'm surprised you're like up and moving. You okay?" And he just stares at him. He's like, "Okay, or don't talk to me," and he walks out.
Or not.
Well, because Peter does go back to the Osborn's house to look for Norman, and he finds Harry there, and he's trying to ask Harry like where he's at, and again Harry's tripping balls. And then he's like, I just need to know you're real. And he's just like, I don't have time to deal with you right now, and just leaves.
Yikes.
So, yeah, it's.
How'd you feel about it overall? So kudos to you. You got through all 14 issues.
It's more of just like a. Like, I thought it would be like, oh, this is an epic story, but it was more of like going through like a history book to me. Because it was like, it's interesting. Like, I learned a lot about how, like, stories were told back in the day. Because, like we talked about last episode, you have to keep the audience interested every issue.
Right.
And if you keep continuing a story, you might lose them. So.
Gotta have some variety in there.
Yeah, and, like, this was a huge turning point for Peter, too. Because he lost a loved one at his own hands. Like, but, I don't know. For me, the build-up, like, it'd be interesting to read everything leading up to this. Like, everything. Because Gwen Stacy's death wasn't as impactful for me. But I also knew it was coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like, some deaths would be
it's hard
like...
for that to be super impactful when... excuse me. When that's why you're reading it. Because you know about it ahead of time. You're reading it to just see how it happened rather than see what.
Like, anytime Alfred dies, that's panic button. Like, who are we throwing hands with? Because you just killed the butler. And that is not a Clue reference. But...
Amazing.
Like, with this one, I was just like, but they left her dead. Yeah. This is one character. It was like his Uncle Ben. They never brought Uncle Ben back, thank God. They're not going to ever bring Gwen Stacy back, which I find it... Well, they brought her back, but not in the same... It's not the original Gwen Stacy.
Right. It was intentionally not the original Gwen Stacy. Wasn't that part of the clone saga? And it was short-lived anyway. And
they tried to... I mean, they've referenced Gwen's death multiple times. Because there's one time there's a really cool group of panels, and I don't know what run it is, but it's basically Peter and Green Goblin... talking like normal people. And he's like, why'd you even kill her, man? Like, you didn't know her. She was such a good person. Like, you didn't have to take her away from me like that. And it's just, they have this like huge heart-to-heart moment, and I don't, like I said, they reference it a lot, and we won't bring up the weird Gwen Stacy and Norman Osborn thing. Have you ever heard of that? I don't know what storyline it is, but apparently... Like
a romance between the two of them?
Okay, so they like imply that... I don't know what storyline this is. And it's so dumb. So they imply that Norman and her had like a secret like love affair. And the reason he went after her and killed her is because she was pregnant with his twins.
Yeah, that's not a storyline that needs traction, is it?
No, you don't need to add that depth to it. Like, it would be really cool if someday they, like, stretch out the Gwen... If they do, like, a retelling of Gwen's death. Right. And they actually make it where it's, like, kind of on the lines of The Killing Joke, where, well, oh, crap, this was a big turning point because Barbara Gordon is now paralyzed. But I think that would be interesting to see retold by, like, a modern-day writer with, like, 7 issues.
Yeah. Have you ever read, there was a run of miniseries by Jeff Loeb. He was the author, and then Tim Sale was the artist. They did a number of just kind of, one shot's not the right word for it because it covered maybe 4 issues, maybe as many as 6, relatively brief, but they did one for Daredevil, the Hulk, Spider-Man, and Captain America. I think it was just those 4 characters, and it was unique in how they approached it. So the Daredevil was called Daredevil Yellow, like they attached a color to each one. So Daredevil Yellow, Spider-Man Blue, Captain America White, and Hulk Gray. And I've read all of them except for the Hulk. And I think our guy Ben Kruger, if I remember right, I bought the Spider-Man Blue and gave it to Ben. I'm bringing this up because it is entirely Spider-Man or Peter Parker trying to work through his grief over Gwen Stacy's death. Like he's trying to process it so that he can just move on with his life. Because at this point when the story is being told, he's with MJ, but he is still clearly haunted by his role in Gwen's death, and he just hasn't fully come to terms with it. And it's a really worthwhile read. It's pretty somber, right, with Gwen dying. But anyhow, it worthwhile read, so I throw it out there for that. But I also think it's fascinating, and you kind of brought this up, for all that comics love to bring characters back from the dead. Gwen's been dead.
And I'm okay with that.
For a long time. Yeah, and that's unique. That's really cool. I mean, Jason Todd dies and then they bring him back in the Batman comics. Superman dies. I mean, all these characters, it's just a comic cliche. You die, you're coming back. And yet Gwen Stacy, not the case.
I think it's just so important to Peter's character because it builds on to Peter is guilty. Like, he feels so guilty all the time. That's why he does half the shit he does for Spider-Man.
He feels responsible.
Exactly. So, like, I mean, even in, like, there's a panel from one of the newer comics that came out recently, and it was him and some of the other Spider-Man people, and they had Green Goblin, and they had Ghost Spider, which is Spider-Gwen, and Green Goblin makes some chirp to her, and Peter's like, you don't talk to her at all. You don't even look in her direction. I will murder you. Like, he gets that serious.
It's pretty intense.
Fast. So, and also there's also another storyline. There's so many cool Spider-Man books I need to read, but there's another storyline too where it's if Spider-Man aged regularly. Have you heard of that? But anyways.
No. But valid.
But like he like ages regularly. They go through 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever, and they find like a clone of him. I think it's like Ben Reilly, and then somebody cloned Gwen Stacy, and like it was pretty clear that if Gwen was still alive, or if she got brought back, he'd probably dump MJ immediately and go back to her, which is just weird to me.
Yeah. I think the only times I can think of that, I mean, freaking hey, Captain America, Bucky, dead forever. Then we're gonna bring him back as the Winter Soldier.
They made that worthwhile.
And that was great. Oh, that was.
I mean, they made the Jason Todd thing worthwhile too, in my opinion.
I'm not calling into question like the merits of does it make sense to bring the character back or not necessarily. Just how unique it is that they left her, and I don't think at this point they're ever gonna change that and bring her back. Like when it's a character or characters that are tied into the origin story, like Bruce Wayne's parents are always going to be dead, right?
Uncle Ben's always going
to be dead. Hal Jordan's dad is always going to be dead. So just take your pick. But when it's actually a character that's been part of like a significant piece of shaping who that other character is, to die and stay dead, I can't think of another example where that has been the case. That just doesn't happen in comics. So kudos to Stan the Man for pulling it off, taking the swing, and doing it in a way, too, that I don't think felt unnecessary. Like, certainly sad, but not in this way of, that was just gratuitous for the sake of doing something shocking. Like, it genuinely progressed Peter's character.
Yeah, I mean, there was no
So-
anticipation like somebody's in trouble.
Yeah.
It was just like, yeah, we're gonna kill somebody off today.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, I think those comics just do so well at, and this is why everybody loves Spider-Man, is because he's relatable. Because
Yep.
that's what Stan Lee said he wanted from his characters. Is
Yeah.
he wanted them to feel like they were real people,
Right.
and not like Superman where he's
Right.
a god. And
Right.
Spider-Man, like I said, he deals. You see him deal with the guilt. You see him make selfish decisions that end up backfiring later on.
Yeah.
Or, I mean,
He's a great character.
it's beautifully,
He's a great character.
and it sets up for a lot of the rest of Marvel. To be
Yeah.
honest, so
He goes through and has to overcome so much adversity, and it's
all
such-
the time the
Yeah,
dude
and it's
gets
a
run through a brick wall.
And it's a combination of, like, he has a phenomenal rogues gallery, so he's consistently going up against some fantastic
Fantastic.
villains, but there's also a equal portion of internal conflict. You mentioned the guilt, the responsibility that he feels. That's a constant weight and burden for him to try and deal with
Yeah.
and bear. And that's not something that I think comes very easy for a lot of comic characters. And so that's something that's very valuable about the character of Spider-Man, is that he has, that's what makes him relatable, because all of us can relate to struggles, to having challenges, to to going through hard things, hard seasons. And so it's a really well developed character. And I don't know what in the pantheon of comic book characters where we would respectively like rank him, but he's up there. I mean, he's consistently excellent.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, no question. Good things, man. Thanks for that recap. That's
Absolutely.
great. Yeah, let's. I'll cover real quick, because we've covered a lot already.
Yes,
a
we
lot
have.
of time. So I've been rereading some old Batman from the New 52 era. So old Scotty Snyder, there's our guy. This is the series or set of issues, kind of in the latter half of Scott Snyder's run on Batman, where Batman has died after battling the Joker for the soul of Gotham City. And the Joker is also died. Seriously. Where? And what Scott Snyder decides to do, which is super subversive and unique, is, okay, Batman is dead. And it's a well-known or understood fact that, hey, Batman sacrificed himself. All of Gotham City is aware of it, so there's no more Batman. So some of the other wealthy individuals in Gotham City that want good things for Gotham put together this program to find another individual that can step into a Batman role, not the exact same role, but at least a role. And they select none other than Jim freaking Gordon steps in and takes on this role of Batman with a mech suit. So he's not by any means trying to be the physical equal of Batman, but nonetheless trying to fill the gap that's been left behind by Batman's demise. And so in and of itself, that's a pretty fascinating twist on the character of Jim Gordon, that he goes from being the police commissioner, straight-laced, you know what you're going to expect, to, well, what happens if Jim Gordon had to be Batman? Okay, never knew that was a question worth asking. But I think Scott Snyder gets some good mileage out of it, and part of why that's the case is he shows how, like, Jim Gordon just honestly fails at being Batman, because, guys, nobody else can be Batman. Like, it's really tempting to think, well, if you just took Bruce Wayne out of the cape and cowl, stuck somebody else in with a similar level of skills, they could pull it off as well. And at least as far as the comics are concerned, Bruce Wayne's it. He is the Batman. There's not going to be another Batman, right? Steve Rogers is Captain America, but there's been other individuals that have taken on that mantle. There's only the one Batman, and it is Bruce Wayne. And so part of what makes this story fascinating is that, as it turns out, shocker, Bruce Wayne's not dead, but although he is alive, he has lost all of his memories of his time as Batman. And Alfred knows about it, but has intentionally not told Bruce Wayne, hey, by the way, you're Batman, here's your Batcave. He's actually, in kind of a sad but very relatable twist, he's protecting Bruce Wayne from the memory of being Batman, because Bruce Wayne is finding renewed purpose in being a just as regular guy as Bruce Wayne can be, working at an at-risk children's shelter. He falls in love, starts a relationship with a quality gal, and has a good thing going there. And so Alfred's perspective is, I don't want to take Bruce Wayne out of what is the healthiest I've seen him, even though there needs to be a Batman. He's like, I'm not throwing my boy Bruce back into that. So it's fascinating to see how that, of course, it doesn't last, and how it is that Bruce gets back into the mantle of Batman. Pretty fascinating stuff. But a good, for my money, a good tie-off as it eventually concludes Scott Snyder's run on the Batman character. I don't know if it's as strong as his earlier issues, because those with the Court of Owls, 0 Year were outstanding. But sometime on this podcast, I'll commit to it. I'll go on a deep dive through these comics for us, because they're,
sounds great.
Oh my gosh, they're good. But anyway, that's just what I've been reading the last few days, just revisiting it, and it's a treat. It's an absolute treat.
Perfect.
So if you haven't gotten to Scott Snyder's run, do so. Last little shameless plug, well, not really shameless, it's not hyping myself, that I'll give is, I've talked about Alex Ross in the past as far as an artist favorite of mine goes, and this little beauty, old Marvelocity, the Marvel Comics art of one Alex Ross. Pick this up. Check this puppy out. There is so much phenomenal content. Yes, it is all just the one artist in Alex Ross, but it is jam-packed with a wide variety of your Marvel favorites. I was really impressed with this book. There is a DC version as well, as Alex Ross has drawn for both Marvel and DC, but I thought this Marvel book was a lot more fleshed out, a lot more diverse. The DC book was fine. It just didn't have as a lower volume, I would say, in terms of overall content. I found the Marvel book to be really rewarding. Just take your time, piece through it, see one of the masters at work, and there's some pretty radical stuff in there. But hard to go wrong with Alex Ross. So if you're looking for something to chew through, kind of little here, little there, highly recommend getting into that. No stories, right? All just pure art, but a lot of good content. So there you go, my man.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I think we hit some really great topics today. That's a lot of good stuff.
I think we killed it.
No doubt. Absolutely crushed it. Like King Shark ripping a helpless dude in half.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Well, on that note, per usual, thanks for tuning in. Follow us on YouTube at JP and the Beanstalk. Follow us on TikTok at The Magic Beans Productions. And follow us on Instagram at JP and the Beanstalk.
You bet. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Godspeed.